Walter.
Right there. All righty. So I'm ready. I got my notebook.
Okay.
And I probably have around 45 minutes for a meeting here.
How's Melissa doing?
She's better. Yeah, she's getting some, getting more mobility, and we're figuring it out, like just like rescheduling our time and like finding these like little times, and she's giving me all her tips about like holding space for the children and food and sleep and activities and stuff like that. So we're in that. You see, man, I was using the mountain.
Could you get some ice cream for me?
I'm not available right now. I'm not available right now, Sam. Could you go find Mama, please? Okay. But anyways, I have this little companion here, and he's okay to be here. They're supposed to go.
You should run the movie. You should run the meeting.
Well, we can consult him, but it's still like we're the adults, so we kind of like we kind of make the decisions.
I don't agree. He started the meeting out right away with the best question.
Yeah.
He immediately saw that he needs to go somewhere else.
Guess what's waving?
Right on. Well,
Guess
what do you have?
Waving, Daddy?
What do you have for today?
Me? You called me.
Right. No, it was Hainal. She called me.
She's not here. Well, no,
But
I mean,
anyways.
she called the meeting, but then she didn't necessarily agree to this time. And you set the meeting up for now, which isn't the weekend. She said,
Right.
and then I, of course, dropped everything immediately to come here. I had to get off my couch and stop watching a movie.
Cool. Oh, great. Well, I could kind of reflect on, because there was that day where there was a big download that happened in the chat, and I was like, yeah, like it was awesome to read it. It took me some time, but it was awesome to read it. I was like copying the message, putting it in the doc, and then responding in the doc. And I haven't had a chance to share it.
Okay.
I don't even know how I'm gonna share all of that.
I saw your little check marks and bumps as you went.
Cool.
It was quite a lot, eh? I guess after, I mean, that's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way, it's like part of the evolution of the world. Like as I was like writing it in the documents, like I was saying, like, okay, one moment. Okay. They're going to watch The Lion King.
Oh, very nice.
Anyways, as I was watching reading it seemed like the game world, the planetary guardians world, it kept expanding and expanding, and I was seeing like the edges, and like there was like clarity coming into some of the edges, and it was pretty awesome.
What does that mean in real English? Like, what did
So here is like this distinction that came. Let me see, because I have the document here, and there was this particular one that opened up a world for me. It was about the designers, when you were talking about the designers and the people who's holding the mic, something like that.
Right.
Yes. So, well, that, and ultimately, who is doing the design of the structure that determines who holds the mic and when and why. So it just like brought up to this to the archetypes, the different archetypes. I don't know, like the traditional ones that I worked with before are these four main archetypes of the kingdom. There, the king, obviously, the king, the mage, which is also the wizard or the magician. There is a warrior, who is the air guardian too, and there is the
lover.
The lover, yeah, exactly. The lover, which is also in possibility management, is the village weaver.
Mm.
So there is these four archetypes, and what I learned recently is that there, for a game world to operate and to function, it needs to be able to hold space for these four archetypes to be there. And it's funny because there tends to be conflict in between some of these archetypes. For example, in between the Earth Guardian, who is the warrior, he's the defender of the wall, of the edge, he's defending the container and the context of the game world. And on the other side is the evolutionary, which is his job is to evolve thing, who is the, I think is the mage or the magician, the wizard,
Mm.
who is like evolving things. So when the evolutionary is trying to evolve the wall or something, there tends to be a conflict with the guardian, and it's often like a collaboration that needs to happen between the two of them for the game world to evolve and expand.
I'd agree. I mean, I think warriors get in the way because they don't really think. They're they're too busy wanting to defend or attack, but they're not really thinking. And so the wizards coming in, and the wizards, there's lots of warriors. There's only a few wizards. And so
Mhm.
the wizard is looking for warriors that actually can listen. Because the warriors, I don't think, have a real sense of direction without the wizard. The wizard's coming in with the big plan.
Mm.
And the wizard knows what has to happen, but nobody else does. At least that's what the wizard thinks. And so he's got to get buy-in from the king, because the king or the queen has control of the kingdom, and whatever they say goes. And so there's a dynamic between the wizard and the king or queen, or both, around power, because
Yeah.
each holds something the other can't, and each has to treat each other very well. And like the wizard's the servant to the king and the queen. The wizard's there to help the kingdom operate right. But if the king and the queen are selfish, or they don't treat the wizard right because they're too much in their ego, then they rule without the wizard's wisdom, and then they fuck up. They make bad decisions. And
Yeah.
so, but the king and the queen actually get a lot of power from the wizard when they're in the right spot. And the wizard gets a lot of power from the king and queen, because the king and queen usually provide the resources. They give him the tower, they give him what he needs to do his work. And he doesn't actually have to deal with the people much. The king and the queen are dealing with the people. And so the wizard, there's a balance. And I think the lover's having all the fun in the back. Like, while all the work is being done, and the lover is actually, in the end, the purest one who actually finds the what do you call it? The holy grail. So it's the pure of heart that actually is necessary in the end, because what the wizard's the mind, the king and the queen are the spirit and the physical, and the warrior is the body. And so the lover to me is the heart and the feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you were saying that, yeah, I was seeing that. Well, this is part that inside of, like, it's very rare that one person is the embodiment of one archetype. Like, there is often, like, for example, for me, I have some king, and I have some warrior, and I also have some lover. So there is like this mix of like these different elements inside of myself, and it's been like this. So there is also like the different roles. What I want to say is that what I learned yesterday is that the game world builder in possibility management, we call it the game world builder archetype, and it represents the king and the queen. And so he's like the game world. He's creating the game world, and this was something new to me, because I thought it was more like the wizard that was creating the game world, but it was the king that's creating the game world and creating this kingdom or queendom for the people to inhabit. And he's like the overall view. Um, and then there is the lover. We call it village weaver, and it's like, yeah, like what you said, like creating these bridges. Like, to me, like, love is the bridge. It's like this, like love is like in this place where you see like the impossible, like it's like, fuck, this is impossible that we're gonna get to the other side. Like it's no way, no way. And then the love to me is like that way. It's like, yeah, wait, it's this way. Boom. And it lands it. And to me that's the village weaver, that's like connecting the different village, and also like holding the fabric of the village by saying like this is exciting, this is, I don't know, he's in the senses, right? Like, so that's what came up from that, in this question that Hainal brought up about who's holding the mic. And it's kind of like, well, like the king presents or has the game world, or he creates the kingdom or creates the game, and then the players are in it, and it's not like the kingdom, the king doesn't run the whole game by himself. It's like there is space for like, yeah, like this is the space, this is the container, and here is for the magic to move inside, and how that works. So
Well, the wizard must build it for him. Like the wizard must be the tech guru. Because I mean, essentially, I think you're talking about where we're going with virtual reality, where whoever's in control of this particular world that's built in virtual reality is like a king, because they're like an operating system. They control whether you come in or not. They can delete you. They can do things that in the ordinary world would seem like magic, but in the virtual reality world, it is magic in a sense. Like we're going into a world of, I think maybe what you're saying is full possibility, even though it's illusion. But as humans are game players that don't really care, as long as they're having fun, that I think we're going to be stepping into a place where at some point we won't be able to distinguish real reality from virtual reality. And that's, that's kind of going to link into the evolution of our species, because you can do a lot of training in virtual reality, but you could also get lost in virtual reality. Like I'm sure there'll be some sort of diseases where people just kind of are always in virtual reality, and something happens to their biological functioning because they're no longer moving. They're always sitting on a couch in some headset and stuff, right? So I think the archetypes are sort of culturally context, like there's a cultural context of the time of the day, the what epoch we're in, what level of technology we're in, and these archetypes are at every stage of our evolution. But the warriors these days may not use the sword or the gun, they may use the computer button. And I think you're right in terms of we have to take into account all of the archetypes, because it is within each of us, and it does represent a very strong part of being a human. And if you take out the lover or the wizard or the king or the warrior in any way, something's going to be missing from the whole game experience. And I think with Planetary Guardians, it needs to run at that archetype level. Like it's an adventure, it's a quest, it's something bigger than us to believe in, to save the world. And you see this card here? So the worldview is superheroes. The story is super team saves the world. And then super team goes through training to disastrous results. And I'm thinking maybe of the eco village. I'm thinking that we started with that card and then we never got past it. It just, after that, everything went sideways. And we never really recovered as a team. And so we're all split up now. We're in different places.
Yeah.
And none of us are operating, I think, that well, because we're meant to work as a planetary guardian team. And it's kind of like when you have a higher spiritual quest, there's always others. There's always others that are sharing the quest with you, that go through the with you. And what the wizard does is he sets up the adventure. Like to me, what's happening with the Very Secret Plan and what we're doing is there's a great adventure there. There's this great methodology, I think, for spiritual evolution. And it's built into this whole design. And when we leave the story, like what I miss from you guys is more of a story approach, like more of a, we need to be telling the story. We need to be showing the story. We all need to be making little videos that are telling parts of the story, that are kind of like not just us sitting in the living room talking about this is how I'm going to go through hell today. You know, make it interesting. Make our relationship interesting. Make what we're doing interesting. Because to me, you're a storyteller. We're all storytellers, but there's only so much I can do. And I'm trying to prompt, and I'm trying, I'm planting seeds, and I'm sort of nudging people, and I'm waiting for people to sort of like get it, like to get the idea that you are in an adventure and you are one of the main characters, and that we have something unique to bring to the world that actually the world needs right now. And you have always sort of stepped up to the plate in a way. You're sort of always close by. You're always sort of seeing it, but you truly, I don't think you've sort of left the hobbit hole yet, like Bilbo. Like you're still in your comfort zone, and you're still doing things from your comfort zone. And even though I think you think you're not, it's like you're still playing with your shadow, as opposed to really being in your essence of character, right? Like at some point, Aragorn stops trying to heal himself. At some point, he goes off and saves the day. And I think
Yes.
I think that the biggest addiction that a lot of spiritual aspirants have is they have an addiction to healing. It's all about the healing. It's always about the healing. But you've got to go through a true transformation. You have to step into your spiritual power in a place where you're not always beholden to your shadow. You're not always beholden to your old past patterns. You're not always trying to fix yourself. It's like, okay, fuck. I'm fucking on mission, and I got to get this done. And no, I'm in my strength. I'm in my power, and I don't have to talk about it. I don't have to explain myself. I just do it. I take the action necessary to further the mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that lands. And I, yeah, it's like talking, yeah, that lands for me. And it, as you were saying that, like, it's telling me about this thing that Heinal also mentioned about using that these blocks that we're facing in this adventure, that they are, let's use them as bricks for like building this thing that we're building. And I was like, yes, that resonated so much.
Yeah, turning blocks into bricks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and it's about this thing that you're just mentioning about, like, let's bring in our story. Let's I'm hearing a shift to start, like, kind of like in Carlos Castaneda, they talk about this thing called recapitulation. So recapitulation is looking at a story from the past, looking at something that you have, a story that you have carried about yourself from the past, and recapitulating it. So that means like going about to it and changing the story. Say like, this is what happened, da 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 da, and then going back again, and this is what happened, da 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 da. And it's a process that it's done with a space holder, with somebody else, and then you get to reinvent the story, you get to recreate the story, and you get to tell a new story that is an empowering story, and a story that is actually like, holy shit, like that was this definite moment that changed my life. And yeah, and I see that place that you're holding, of like, of waiting for others to get it, that we're in this big adventure. Yeah.
And I would say that, one thing I miss from you, and one of the things I loved about you the most, or I do, is your sense of humor. You have a great sense of humor. And
Mhm.
I haven't seen it in quite a while. And I understand that you're being fierce, and you're stepping into parts of yourself that maybe perhaps you thought you lost or something. But I would just sometimes, like, humor adds the element which I think is necessary for humans to get through what we get through, because we take ourselves so seriously. And at some point, we have to embrace our ridiculousness. We have to embrace where we are in terms of what we've done with our life, and not with, deep prejudice and criticism, but just a sense of humor that, okay, this is where I am, this is how I got here. And it changes the nature of the interpretation of reality. And I think that we're in our healthiest when we're really seeing the humor of what we're involved in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I miss my humor too, and it's kind of like in check right now. It's like it's like I'm restructuring my humor. But anyways, that will be more like talking about myself. But I think what I'm learning is the distinction between this humor that I had before that will be like disempowering me. That will be like kind of like making myself as a joke and making myself as this like laughing at myself, and like that's really like part of like the shadow work that I've been doing.
Mm.
um and like getting to see more like this joy of being serious, something like that. There is like a joy of being serious, and like this like really like empowerment behind. It's not for the sake of being serious, but it's as of the sake of using my anger from my warrior archetype to hold the space, and to hold the space of epicness or adventure or extraordinary, or to hold and yeah, to hold that space of kind of like, fuck, this is a serious adventure for me. I don't need to make it other people can laugh and they can do whatever they want, and for me this is a serious adventure. And
Right.
it is like that.
Well, I mean, I get you, and I get you've been, you know, to me, you've been embracing what you perceive to be weaknesses in yourself, and you're acknowledging them, and you're admitting them, and you're being vulnerable, and you're being very courageous to do so. But I do see it as a phase. You know, I do see it as
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
as a process you're going through, that at some point the humor is the end result of kind of like, I don't know, I think it's one of the highest attributes for humans, when we can truly see the humor of the situation. And I think it means that we're not focusing on ourselves too much. Like at some point we give up this complete, constant internal assessment of our very being, and take our attention outside and just look at the world in terms of, I'm fine. I'm fine. And then we start to see what is, without our projections and without all of the distortions that have been there within you.
Yeah.
Just sort of saying.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just going through my notes here and seeing if there is anything else that is kind of relevant to bring in here, because there was so much. And
And remember, whatever anyone says in a bigger hat than you're wearing is in charge.
alrighty.
So is that enough for today? I got a sore throat, and I'm kind of, it's really bugging me. So I think I'm gonna sign off.
There was one more thing.
Okay.
There was one more thing.
What's that?
Oh, there is this. Okay. One moment, because it's here, and it's a message that came from that I wanted to share, and I think it'd be great to share here. Okay. You brought up this thing about Le Ciel, what happened at Le Ciel in this project. And that was big. That was like opening up like what worked and what didn't work, and how it was for you. And one of the things that came for me, because there is a few things. One of the things is that it wasn't your game world. It's like almost like you were like a king with your own game world, like trying to like fitting into somebody else's game world, and it was like they were like nitpicking, like we want this, we want that, and we want this, and it didn't really like work. I don't know how it worked for them. I heard that it was productive for some people from your messages, and but yeah, that it also like it wasn't like your space that you had control and that you had created and that you have control over the context of like how it gets delivered. So I think it'll be awesome to have that space where you have that capacity or that reach into how it goes inside of that world, not by somebody else's like nitpicking or having this wall or like this yes, this no. And that
Well,
was one of the things.
yeah, I mean, if you're let's say a whole systems architect, which I'm claiming to be, at some point you're trying to fit all the pieces together. And you've been creating or I've been creating these pieces, and now it's that last map I sent you. It's really honing in to go, here are the essential elements to make this structure that anyone can use to really get organized, and then as a team or as a community get organized too, right? So it's very programmable, but you have to have all the right pieces in the right place. And you have to know how they fit together. And so if you cherry pick, like you said, or if you just take bits and pieces of something and pull it into your own design with a bunch of other cherry pick pieces, without being a whole systems thinker, you're putting forth a program that is sort of like more particles than compared to the wave. And so the particles never sort of get connected together. So the mind gets very confused because it doesn't know how the parts fit. And so to me, the part of what I got, from Hanau is just that I think she has her hand on the pulse of the people and the pulse of perhaps the timing and the pulse of perhaps of the sequencing. I'm making a lot of these parts, but you guys have an insight that of course I don't have. Like, let's say if you're playing, let's say she's the lover and you're the warrior and Nova's the king and I'm the wizard. Each of us is coming at it very differently, right? And so the lover is really going to figure out how the world can use it. The warrior is probably, how to bring it into the world. And the king is making sort of wise decisions around how the whole thing is introduced. So I'm seeing our interaction as being more valuable. Not that I didn't before, but I was looking at more, how can you help me with my own overwhelm, with all the work that I feel I have to do. But each of you has to find your own pace, and each of you has to find your own way to interact from your place, not necessarily to help me, but by doing what you do best, then I do get help, because I am trying to do too much, and I'm trying to do things I'm not supposed to be doing. And so it's not a question of you helping me bear the burden. It's a question of, as you do your piece, I get more relief, and then I can focus on my own quite a bit better, because now I know there's others involved who are committed, who are, have competence and actually are bringing their gifts into the fold, which is the main idea, right? The main idea is at some point you're doing exactly what you want to do within the larger idea.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that sounds like a sustainable game world. I don't know what you call it, system. You call it holistic system. Um, and it connects with this other point that I wanted to bring about, because right now you see the whole of thing. You see the whole of like how big this is, and you see like one person and it's probably like this big. It's like, how is all of these things gonna like fit inside of this this being? Like, how long is that gonna take for them? Like, how much instruction is it gonna take? And so it's like designing. Let's see how I can start this. It's like there's like I planned it, like I created this thing that is like different layers, where designing your ideal job is like the first layer, kind of like this initial layer that is this introduction into, well, just that, designing your ideal job. It doesn't go any further than that. Like, it's just designing your ideal job. You go into this space, that is a container of set space. It's a bite size, like I'm calling it bite size, like it's something that's chewable. It's not like a full meal or like a whole feast that you have to eat. It's like a small bite size that provides value for this person, and and that is also like something that is not like a commitment, like a full-on commitment. They can go into this thing, they can pay you money to find their designing their ideal job. They get their ideal job, and then that's it. Like it's up to them what they do with that. Like now you win because you get to teach, you get to receive money from them, you get and they get to have a new job that's ideal, like more that it nurtures Gaia, that it works for Gaia, that is like actually like providing value for the planet. And so that in that way it's like a winning happening for everybody. And then what I think it will happen, like after doing this for like 100 people or like 1,000 people, something like that, depending on how much you like it or how much sustainable that is, then there is people that are gonna be like, I want more, like where can I get more, like I really want this, like how do you do this? And it's gonna be, I think, like even like younger people that are starting like, it's not limited to younger people, but it could be like, this is what I was seeing. And like people like, how can I get more? Like I want to train people in how they can design their own ideal job. Like, and then you have the next layer, which is training people to run the facilitation program of designing your ideal job. So you'll be like training this like set of people that they'll be training for doing that, for helping others find their ideal job. So that will be like the next layer, but it'll come after this first layer, after you have provided that value for these people, which I think is very awesome. And also then you'll have your 12 facilitators who then will be facilitating, designing a real job, which then will be using your tools and your things to bring in other people. But I think that's more realistic to me, that number. So you work with 100 people, and from those 100 people, perhaps you get 12. And then from that, like it starts like rippling more and more. And it's also like achievable, like it's something that you can like do it, like it's like a small chunk. It's a little bit out of your comfort zone, maybe, because no, I don't want to talk so much about it. It's like this is just my possibility that I see. But yeah, like designing your ideal job. You said like a small, you don't have to bring in the whole thing, the whole structure and the whole thing, even though that's what you're using in your back, that's what's running the program. They don't know it, and they don't have to know it. They just need to know, like, hey, what is your need? Oh, I need money, or I want something that's more passionate. I want to know what my values are. I want to know my principles. And then you have the tools to facilitate that and to get them to designing their ideal job, where at the end of it, like they have their next step, and ideally they have a next job that they can do. So that was kind of like the layers. And then the next layer after that will be training trainers for training, something like that, like training trainers, which you will be like training people to train people to, that will be
Well,
helping people design their job.
I mean, the thing is that all of the maps are meant to be passed on. And the idea being that if I pass them on to you, if you wanted, like you said, you could just train the whole thing again and just pass on what you got. And because I just trained you, you could train 20 people. Like you've got the maps now, and now you get to do 5 people. You do one per, you do, but you could reproduce what I'm doing. And then there's more that keeps coming. And so you're constantly passing on knowledge in terms of the idea or how to build the whole business. And there's going to be people like who want to build a shared knowledge community. And then there's people who just want to create their own job, maybe in the old paradigm. But the people who want to build this, like, I think most people are going to see that, okay, there's something bigger here we're building. This is just a piece, just like you say, this is just a layer. And then you'll have your teachings, and Hanal will have hers, and other people that I know will come in. And so we're creating like a curriculum for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So, I mean, one thing that I do that seems to be quite different from most is I think big. I think a lot bigger than most people. And so to me, we're dealing with a species level, planetary level system that's international, that this operating system, the inflow matrix runs, that all of these things fit within and are part of. And at some point, we're sharing the same mental construct. We're sharing the same maps that then allow us through software and through normal day-to-day interactions to basically manifest a whole new system, a whole new world. And it's like, I can see how to do it, but I come across too big, and I come across too much, and for those layers, and for you and the rest to help to scale it down, to put it into perspective so other people don't get overwhelmed and don't sort of have disbelief because it's too big, and people just shut things down very quickly. So
yeah, because well, I have this thing that comes up for me is this big fear of, well, that's exactly what Hitler wanted to do. You know what I mean?
well,
It's the exact same thing. So it's in this way that it's like I get it. I get the value of it, and I still like think like it's irrealistic. It's like a fantasy world that you think that everybody in the whole world are gonna have the same mental structure, and I think that that's actually like repressive and like it's undesirable. It kills the diversity of nature, something like that.
Well, I mean, just like when I say, like, let's say if all the people understood the 5 communication spaces map.
Even that.
No, but I mean, let's say most people, let's say, understand the 7 chakras, or they understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Let's say Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? It's a very well-known psychological concept.
But even that, like, what happens to the people that don't? Like, this is my question.
If they don't know the map, then they shall be exterminated. What I mean, the thing is, do you ever hear me speaking about anything violent?
I mean, like it's
Do you ever hear of me speaking of wanting to take over countries or invade or be militaristic in any way?
it's not about you. Like it's really, it's like I don't know how to say it. Okay, so in the difference, what is more valuable to me is the relating and the having diversity. Diversity is a huge value for me, and having this diversity and knowing that I know that you can be different and that I can be different, and that we don't have to agree, to be able to relate with each other, something like that. So it goes like from like.
Okay, but can I just interrupt you? Because it sounds, to me, it just sounds ridiculous in a sense of these are maps. And so if you have a map of Alberta and I have a map of Alberta and you have a map of Calgary and I have a map of Edmonton, it's not an imposition of a belief system. It's not a you have to know it or else. It's just the fact that if you have a map of Alberta, now both of us can see that where Edmonton is in relationship to Calgary.
Yeah,
that's
yes.
easy. That's easy to understand in a physical way. But as
Yes.
soon as we go into a mental way, and the maps that I'm proposing, they're universal. Like Ken Wilber's 4 quadrants. There's an individual in a group. There's an inner and an outer. This is universal for all humans. And so if you make a model and you go inside individual, inside group and outside group, you can't argue. I'm not trying to impose it. What I'm trying to do is create some type of reference point that we can agree upon to actually communicate or do commerce or do anything together. Because I mean, there's no way, I am never going to take away your diversity. I'm never going to come into your belief system and say, kind of like, you have to believe this, you have to believe that. I mean, I think whatever this is, it's a search for truth. And what I've been looking for are universal models that fit together, that once they're in the mind, they then can become software. And so software doesn't care if you agree with it or not. software doesn't, all it is a series of buttons that everybody pushes to play the same game, right? It's like in Nova's game. We're all playing an interface, and we're playing this game, and we have to come to agreements about something to play the game together, and that's how we play the game together. So, I mean, it's like when you equate me or it to Hitler, it's like, I guess, any white male who's a little too intense, saying, "I got the way, and you got to follow me." I mean,
it's the colonialism way, the colonialism.
I get that, but you have to. I mean, you have to look at who I am, and kind of like, you can get indications about something. Like I have absolutely no interest in violence. I have absolutely no interest in using force to go make something happen. I mean, we need to use wisdom. We need to use kindness. We need to use intelligence. And these are the values that are programmed into this whole idea. So people get to choose their values within this universal model. And that's where I think the beauty of it is. It's like, you can choose joy, I can choose creativity, but maybe practicality actually happens in the moment. We think all of these things in words, and we come up with these ideas about what something is or isn't. But reality most of the time dictates difference. It dictates, this is what is here. You got to grow your potatoes, put your earth in, and I'll see you on Tuesday. You know, like, we project these big things of possibility that we're afraid of, when there's no freaking way that'll ever happen. Like, if we can actually get teams together, playing the game, learning missions, having good times, and what, 5%, 2% might memorize the maps. But if the maps are actually built into the software, if I go into my personal space, and that's just me, or I go into here, a one-on-one space with you, this is a one-on-one conversation. If we add someone else now in the group space, that's as simple as it gets. It's not like, you come into the group space at this time in this way, or else, like, come on. I mean, that's the tools are meant to empower. The tools are meant to assist people to systems think, to see in multiple perspectives, to think in multiple levels. This is a big jump for our species, and I believe that the tools, they are made for that reason.
Yeah, that resonates. That when you said about the maps, it's like it's a map, and and that resonates, and I'm happy to bring this up and to, like, put it on the table, and that this is something that it's a human thing, something like there is a little bit of Hitler in each one of us. I heard this something like this before. Yeah. And it's very real, and it's like, actually, it's more than just a little bit, just from seeing, like, so it's like, put it on the table, and like say, like, this fantasy world of, like, having everybody agreeing on something, or that everybody should be memorizing this map or having this map, is like, to me, it's like, okay, I want to put that on check and say that, is that the basis of this, something like that. Like, I think
well, the thing is, again, like, you're coming from the point of view, let's say, a warrior, and I'm coming from the point of view of a wizard. And the wizard is thinking about blueprints and mental structures when nobody else is. Nobody.
Yes.
You're thinking about, where does the food go, and who's going to be the musician, and how are we going to have a good time. And I may be putting a placement of the tables so that all the wizards, all the warriors, all the kings, and all the lovers are together. You know, that's what it actually comes down to, like, in terms of reality. And I think that the dialogue, or you being able to bring it up, and then me being able to answer it, because I think that you're bringing up legitimate fears, and you're bringing up things that everyone is going to bring up. But I really hope that my answers are honest in their functionality. The tools, like, to me, need to be useful, or else they won't be used. But I see, like, what I see is, because we lack structure, we don't end up organizing people together in ways that actually form coherence, form trust, and form like our species needs new organizational structures. Doesn't have to be whatever this one is, but this is a start, right? And so if you look at most like a corporation or a nonprofit or a co-op, there is a structure there. And most people don't think really about how that structure dictates how humans interact together. And so the movie The Corporation, it basically pointed to the structure, and he said that structure acts like a psychotic human being. And so if you look at human history and you look at since what 1600s, when the first corporation came about, those corporations now run the world. That structure runs the world. Humans are inside it, but there's an actual organizational structure that dictates what happens in human business and commerce. That structure has gone insane, is part of the insanity to me. And so again, when we're looking at structures and we're looking at teams, or we're looking at, what is the inflow matrix and why is it the maps and why are the maps important? At some point in commerce, you need to agree to a certain structure in order to divvy up the funds, in order to create the products, in order to carry out commerce, which at the end of the day is what runs our world. Right? I mean, everyone needs to make a living. Everyone, it has to be an economic answer. It can't be just philosophy, fluffy stuff, and people just talking about shit all the time, which I see happening. Right? I do not see answers. I see people complaining. I see people blaming. I see people blame all of this stuff, but I don't see people saying, here's an answer for how we can organize to do business. So,
cool.
Somebody will edit that part out and go, see, he's a leprechaun Hitler. I knew it.
Cool. All right.
Not enough? I gotta go.
Yeah. Thank you, Elijah.
But beautiful to see you. And
I'm glad we met.
okay. Give my love to Melissa. I hope she gets better.
All righty.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks for all of that.
Bye, brother.
Bye.